What is up, everybody? It's Max from the Max and Onecast, and as you guys can see, it's a little different this week. It's just me. I'm riding solo. Shout out to Jason Derulo. I'm without Juan. For those of you who know, Juan is in Denver. He is in enemy territory, and there's no doubt in my mind he is just celebrating what you can only categorize as probably the best win of the Raiders season. So this is going to be a quick show, maybe 10, 20 minutes tops. And I just wanted to hit on some of the things I saw today. And let's start with the Sunday night game, right? As always, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment the video, shoot me a comment. It's just going to be me. It's real casual, laid back. Usually I got my partner in crime, but like I said, he's in Denver. So let's start in the division, AFC West division. We just saw the Sunday night game. The Chargers continue to put up fights. They lose to a much better Chiefs team. They lost last week to a San Francisco team that has way more talent than them. Justin Herbert, he can only do so much. A lot of people are going to say the Chargers, man, they're a really talented team to be 5-5. Well, that's true, but they're really banged up with injuries, and Brandon Staley wants been more critical of them than I am. I don't think it's time for a change, though. I don't think firing him either. If the path continues where they're just really good and competing with teams like they're close, they just need their horses to be there. They need Joey Bosa. They needed a guy like J.C. Jackson. Rashawn Slater would help, but they're close. They're closer than you think. I always think it's a mistake to fire a coach that is keeping the team competent, and that's exactly what they are. And on the other side of things, man, can we just appreciate Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce? Like, these two are arguably the best quarterback to tight end duo, maybe wide receiver duo. I mean, we always hear, we've heard last year Devontae Adams, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers. You hear Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Tua. But has there been a more consistent threat than Mahomes Kelsey? And 6 for 115, 3 touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco had 107 yards today. And Patrick Mahomes just looks like he's at the top of his game. And this Chiefs team is 8-2 going into next week. It seems like they're going to get another win, another notch in the belt. And is there really any way to slow this team down? I haven't seen it. It's going to take a really miraculous effort on both sides of the ball, like we saw Buffalo do to them, to beat this really talented Kansas City team. And this Charger team, it's built to compete with teams like Kansas City, to give them problems. But at the end of the day, when you have number 15 in the in your offense, you have a good chance really to beat just about anybody. So let's move to our next game. I want to talk about the Jets and the Patriots, guys. And I don't know if you guys watched this game. It wasn't a pretty one to watch. It was a defensive struggle, or maybe an offensive struggle would be the more appropriate term. The defense was faring just great, both ends. It seemed like the Patriots were moving the ball up and down the field, and then all of a sudden it'd be stalled by a sack. I mean, Mac Jones was sacked 6 times this game. I think Nick Folk missed about 2 or 3 field goals. And as a Pats fan, Isaiah, our resident Pats fan, texted me, "Oh my God, this game isn't pretty to watch." And as he texted that, the Jets punt the ball with maybe 13 seconds on the clock. It's a pretty good punt. But Marcus Jones just decides to end the Jets. I don't know if this is a season-ending thing, but it's kind of hard to recover from such a heart-wrenching loss. Marcus Jones returns a punt for a touchdown, effectively walking the game off. And this Jets team played well on defense anyway. The offense was putrid. Zach Wilson had 75 yards passing. He led the team in rushing. I think Garrett Wilson called out the team's performance today. And, I mean, even Robert Saleh said the offense was shit. And that's exactly what it was. But this is why Bill Belichick owns the Jets specifically. Because even when you think you have them dead to rights, the game's going to overtime, the Patriots pull this game out in the most Patriot way. They don't mess up situations. The special teams is excellent. And that's what it comes down to. If you want to be a winning team, you have to make plays like the Patriots. Like, we've written them off. They're 6-4. The Jets are 6-4. Maybe that's records different with a guy like Breece Hall there. And me and Juan have talked about the margin of error without Breece Hall is just close. Like, it just closes on teams. So now you have to play a little bit more perfect. You don't have that ability for Zach Wilson to throw a dumb interception. and you can still win because Brees Hall can bounce one for 80 yards. And we talked about this is a prove it week for a lot of teams. It was prove it for the Jets. It was prove it for the Giants, I felt like, in a sense. Definitely a prove it for the well, the Raiders are kind of a prove, but the Jets specifically were the prove it team. And as a Jets fan, I guess you just take away that, we're young on offense, but you couldn't muster up more than 3 points at any point in this game. And like I said, Nick Folk was missing field goals left and right. I can look it up. Yeah, 1 for 3 from Nick Folk. That's not something that's ever going to happen. And I get it was a windy day. Conditions weren't ideal for kicking. I mean, just ask the guys in the Giants. As we transition there, if you're a Giants fan, I can't help but feel like this is the type of loss that makes you feel like the 7-2 record really wasn't real. You got favorable matchups throughout the year. You lost to a Cowboys team, which is good with Cooper Rush, but it was an impressive showing by the Detroit Lions. Jamal Williams had 3 touchdowns today, leading the league in touchdowns. The defense was good, opportunistic. Aiden Hutchinson, man, what a stud. 3 sacks. I think he's the first rookie with at least 3 sacks and 3 takeaways in his team start to the season. But the Giants, I feel like they squandered a perfect opportunity. Now they're 7-3. The Cowboys are 7-3 with a matchup looming on Thanksgiving Day, which is humongous. And the sad thing is, you're not even playing for first. If you're 7-3, usually you're playing for first. But Philadelphia moved to what are we 9-1 now? Wow, yeah, that's nice to say, guys. I won't lie to you. But the Giants squandered it, and this is not the recipe for the Giants to win football games or even to play football games. This is Daniel Jones throwing the ball 27 times. Completing 27 passes, throwing the ball 44 times. I'd rather see 44 rushes from the Giants than 44 passes. And Saquon Barkley, 15 for 22. And against the defense, me and Juan have just been destroying throughout the year for being horrendously bad. Just the most abysmal unit in all of football. Aaron Glenn just kind of turned it around today. So the Lions moved to 4-6, and they look frisky like we've been talking about all year. And maybe they can make some noise with Jameson Williams coming back. And I mean, they're kind of playing Green Bay for last in the division and Chicago. The bottom 3 teams, Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago. That's not a good group. And you would think Green Bay didn't belong anywhere in it, but they deserve it. That showing against Tennessee, me and Juan both picked them in the Pick'em show because we coming off beat the Cowboys in a really good game. Christian Watson, who had a good game, again, had some red zone touches, but it wasn't enough. And New York, if you go to the Cowboys game 8-2, you kind of have wiggle room to lose that game. And it seems like the winner of this game on Thursday basically going to be playing for that second spot in the division, which very well might be a wild card team. As the Giants, they're a good football team, but I think this game proved to us that they're flawed. And another flawed team we're going to talk about, and this is going to be probably the longest thing we talk about because on Wednesday, you guys are going to see Juan beaming. We haven't seen a lot of happy Juan this year, so it'll be nice to see. But Juan flew to Denver, with his high-paying job and the YouTube money we're making that he keeps all of it. It's not me. He goes to the Raiders, the one game they have a chance to win. They enter the game 2-7, playing a 3-6 Denver team. And this game was not really, you could tell why both these teams are bad. That'd be the best way to put it. Russell Wilson didn't look that great. No touchdowns today. He's completing some passes. Latavius Murray was playing hard against his old team. Josh Jacobs, really solid on the ground, 100 yards. And this is why you trade a first-round pick for Devontae Adams. And we made a video a little bit ago about don't pay a wide receiver, but when you have no other weapons on your team, maybe you should, because Devontae Adams today, guys, 7 catches, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the walk-off. So let's take it back to the last 2 minutes of the game. The Raiders are desperately trying to get the ball back. It's 3rd and 10. What do you do if you're Denver? Do you run the ball, make them burn the one timeout they have, or maybe they didn't have any, or just kill the clock as much as you can, or do you put it in the hands of your $100 and whatever million quarterback, Russell Wilson? I mean, you just traded a first-round pick, traded Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, blah, 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 all this other stuff you put in his hands. They did. Cleveland Ferrell, the fourth pick in the draft, who's been to this point a disappointment, gets to Russell Wilson, makes him throw the ball away or an incomplete pass, which is worst case scenario. The Raiders get the ball back, I think on about 15, maybe 20-yard line, march down the field, get a huge Josh Jacobs wheel route catch. Josh Jacobs today had 51 yards, 43 of them were that play. So that was a huge receiving catch by Josh Jacobs. Takes him down to about the 5-yard line. And then Denver's defense, again, you have to commend the defense, holds the Raiders to a field goal where they could have won the game. So now it's 16 up. Game goes to overtime. Las Vegas gets the ball, and they walk it off with Davante Adams on just what can only be described as an ankle-breaking route on Patrick Surtain, who had a really good game. Yeah, you're going to see Davante Adams had 7 catches for 140 yards. They don't always come all on Patrick Surtain. NFL offenses are too creative now where you can just line up whoever you want, whether it be Jalen Ramsey, and you can use Jalen Ramsey as an example today, lined up on Chris Olave, try and play him off. Chris Olave hits him with a post 50-yard touchdown. These guys are too good. A rookie burning what we think is a premier corner in the NFL. It's just too hard to cover these athletic freaks on the outside. And Davante Adams, well, he might not be the freaky of the freaky. He's a freaky route runner. He is so good on his transitions from in-breaking routes to out-breaking routes. And he simply got Patrick Surtain. And both teams are 3-7. Now, if before you told me at the start of the year which team do you think will be, I would say the Raiders. Not in a million miles that I think the Broncos are going to be anywhere in this area, but the Raiders, I would say, have had a bad year, while the Broncos have had a nightmare year because the expectation in Las Vegas was nowhere near as high as Denver. They brought in a stud, the superstar quarterback. And whether you want to admit it or not, maybe you hate Derek Carr and you always want to see him fail. Russell Wilson's been the worst quarterback in this division. And it's not close. And that was one of the storylines going into it is, does Derek Carr the best worst quarterback in a division? Is he like the best fourth? Like, is he the best fourth, like number 4 quarterback in a division? And the truth is, it's Russell Wilson. And I mean, Russell Wilson's the guy who's been getting outplayed by Geno Smith week in and week out. And if you're Denver, is it time for a change from Nathaniel Hackett? Because personally, I see guys open. I see well drawn up plays. I see creativity. But I see a quarterback who just doesn't want to work through a progression and just deliver the ball. And at times looks a little timid. And before this year, you think Russell Wilson, you think, wow, that guy can just change a franchise. And in all honesty, maybe the Seahawks changed him. Oh, man, Denver's had a horrible freaking year, guys. But, the Cowboys and the Vikings have not had horrible years at all. But if you guys watched our Pick'em show, and me and Juan both picked the Cowboys to win this game. I had it close, but I said this. There's a very big caveat of this game could be Minnesota is coming off an emotional win. Like, not just an emotional one, maybe the most emotional win of any team. Go to Buffalo, you're down big. Justin Jefferson makes the catch of the year on 4th and 18. You beat a juggernaut team in Buffalo. They fumbled the ball on the 1. They come back down, goes to overtime. You get a stop. It's crazy. And Minnesota felt the effects. They came out flat. They got destroyed today, 40-3 by a very talented Dallas team. Dak Prescott, 22 for 25, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns. And this isn't. We're not going to talk about this anymore. Tony Pollard is the best back in Dallas. This game solidified it. 15 carries for 80 yards. Zeke had 15 carries for 42 yards. Tony Pollard had 6 catches for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zeke is going to provide value in the short area yardage stuff and kind of wearing down a defense because you don't really want to give Tony Pollard 20 carries a game. You don't want him to get worn down because his speed, the electric feel he has when he gets the ball in his hands is too special. You don't want to just kill that. But this Dallas team was unstoppable today, and it was at all levels. Christian Darrisaw went out early. Micah Parsons had 2 sacks. He almost had a third, but he was like, hey, Kirk Cousins, I'm going to lay you down easy. I'm not going to really tackle you. He gets out of it. It was an all phases type of game. So if you're a Minnesota fan, do you think, hey, our season's been a fluke or this game was a fluke? I think it's honestly a little bit of both. And I know that's a cop-out because you're not really taking a side. I don't think Minnesota is this bad. but I also don't think they're as good as their 8-2 record would indicate. I think they had the worst point differential for a team that was 8-1 this whole year. And if you're a Cowboy fan, you have to feel good about. We just kicked ass. We're going to play the Giants. We're gonna whoever wins that game, second place in the division, and within striking range of Philly. But at the same time, Dallas, you don't want your heads to get too big. This wasn't the Vikings team we'd seen in previous weeks. They got down early and they were done. Justin Jefferson, 3 catches for 33 yards. Dallas, it was a beatdown. But do not let that go to your head if you want to win this division. And as we approach Thanksgiving, we're going to get three games back to back to back of football. You're going to have good food. Dallas is a mainstay on Thanksgiving. And I can honestly say this is one of the biggest games I've seen in a long time on Thanksgiving with the implications down the road. People are going to say, oh, the Harbaugh Bowl was such a big one. But the Ravens and 49ers, yeah, they would meet in the Super Bowl a little bit later, but there was no implications for, hey, this is going to decide the division. It was just a really cool matchup. But Dallas entered 7-3. The Giants entered 7-3. Winner goes to 8-3 within striking range of Philly. And both teams are going to play Philly. Dallas has played them once where the Eagles won. The Giants have yet to play Philly. So if the Giants win and they sweep Philly in the season series, they're going to win the division, plain and simple, guys. And this is the last game I'm going to hit on it because it's my team, and I want to be like one where I can just talk about my team freely and be delusional. The Philadelphia Eagles, guys. The last 2 weeks haven't been pretty. Philadelphia fans, Eagle, Bird Gang, whatever. Where are you guys at? Leave a comment down below on what you think the Eagle season's been the last couple weeks. First half of this game, we were moving the ball at will, but we were like the Dallas Cowboys, as my friend Dak would like to say. We were just determined to shoot ourselves in the foot at all times. Hey, do you want to get a 20-yard gain followed by a 10-yard holding? Check. I think there was a point where the Eagles were 1st and 35, and the game was 3-10 at halftime. I think they score a field goal, so it's 13-3. They get a turnover, or they get a 4th and 10 where Jalen Hurts decides to run out of bounds instead of just throwing it up. They had a chance to kill us. They get a fumble. Jonathan Taylor fumbles, and I'm like, yeah, here we go. Eagles are coming back. Like 3 plays later, A.J. Brown fumbles, and I'm like, oh, my God. But the important thing for an Eagle fan who's watching this game to see, we were down 10-16, ball in Jalen Hurts' hand. And what did he do, guys? He drove down the field, got the job done, punched the ball in. And it was followed by the worst play I've ever seen coming out of a 2-minute warning, followed by one of the greatest quarterback draws in NFL history. So for those of you who didn't watch the game, and you should go back and check this play out, Eagles are on about the 12, maybe the 11-yard line, 10, 4th and 2. They come out under center. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown directly to his left, tight end on his right, and a guy right behind them, like in a kneel down almost. And they tried to draw the Colts offside and then burnt the timeout. Coming out of the 2-minute warning, it didn't matter because the Eagles picked up the first down a play later, but it was puzzling. And then on like the 3rd and goal, they run a quarterback draw where Jason Kelce pulls to the right, follows Boston Scott to the promised land. And oh my God, it was such a game. I was so relieved. Brandon Graham gets a sack. Matt Ryan kind of looked his age at the end. But this Colts team is playing hard for Jeff Saturday, guys. They might have found something there. It's still a little too early to tell, especially being 2 weeks in. Guy who never coached before and doesn't have any experience, who we all make fun of for losing in high school football. But this Eagles team doesn't look unbeatable. They're 9-1. They looked bad last Monday night. Had the turnover bug. We had a little bit of that bug today. But we got out with a win. That's all I can ask as an Eagles fan. And guys, that concludes this podcast or YouTube video, whatever you guys want to call it, or the Max and Juan cast, but really the Max cast today without Juan holding me down, guys. I miss my co-host. I wish him a safe journey back to LA. Congrats on the win, Juan, from Denver. If you're watching, I know you're happy. I know how much you hate the donkeys, as you like to say. And guys, if you've enjoyed this, it's been a chiller show, just me talking. It's definitely been something I'm nervous to do because I've never done one. Juan was kind of like talking shit. He's like, you don't know what it's like. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to comment on the video, subscribe. It really helps, guys. We've grown so much. It's all thanks to you. I'm Max, guys. I hope your team won this Sunday. If they lost, there's always next one. Next one. You guys have a good night. Late.